Patrick, I am so excited that I got a copy of your book early. I love the way that you and Ellen wrote this. I love that it starts with a quote because I love quotes and then talks about the principle and then gives us an action step. So I love the one, actually, it's out of October section, and it talks about gratitude and then just the action step to really challenge us to notice and appreciate one small thing that someone does for you every day, which is so important. So I have so many questions
Well, I
about,
know, Allison, we're preaching to the choir when it comes to that one.
I know, I
You're
love
our
it.
gratitude master, so thank you for calling that out.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And Patrick, we've known each other for over a decade. You are such the master of building relationships, and I'm so excited that I've been a part of your life and seeing you put these books out into the world. And I do have some questions about this book, and I'm
Excellent.
curious, why did you and Ellen actually write The Daily Connector? Like what inspired you?
Well, Allison, simply put, relationships are everything.
Mhm.
And that sounds like hyperbole, but really, when you think about it and when you look at the research, it really is the key to the good life. In fact, there's a book called The Good Life that talks about a study that's been going on at Harvard University since 1938. And what they wanted to determine way back then, and this is now into its third generation of participants of those original study folks, what they found with that group at Harvard and a group of folks in a lower socioeconomic demographic in Cambridge, Massachusetts, is it doesn't matter how much money people made or the titles they acquired in their careers, but it is the quality of relationships that they build with their family, with their friends, with their work colleagues, that is the biggest determinant to happiness in their life and to health and longevity. And I thought it was a marvelous study. It's been replicated all over the world. And just think about your own personal life. When Ellen and I have reflected on all of the joys we have in our life, it really ties into those connections that we have with each other, with our daughter, with our family members, with our friends. Those are more valuable than money. Um,
Oh,
and when it comes to money, ironically enough, when we look at our business over the last 22 years, we can track about 90% of our business to 5 relationships. That's it. And it's not an exceptional story. I bet when you think about your business, you
mhm.
might find that there are some key relationships that have gotten you to where you are with your wonderful business.
Oh my gosh, yes, I can totally relate. What gets you the most excited about getting this into the world so people are experiencing what you and I have experienced with the power of relationships?
Well, I think there's been so much written about, talked about regarding the loneliness epidemic, the
Oh
crisis
yeah.
of connection that we're feeling, not just here in the United States, but around the world. People are really disconnected. And as important as it is to focus on the problem, I don't think nearly enough has been spoken about in terms of how we can actually get over this. And the good news is relationship building is not really complicated. It's just a series of activities. It's a skill set that we can work on. So first we have to have the mindset that it's important. And this book allows us to address what I think a missing piece is, which is, okay, given that relationship building is important and given that we're in this loneliness epidemic, how can we actually go out there and build better connections? And I'm so excited to get the book out there because I think that is not being talked about nearly enough.
Oh my gosh, yes. And the way that you write this, it's really actionable that anyone can do it. And I love that there's a daily quote and challenge for all of us. What are your thoughts about introverts? Like, do you think that introverts could use your book and really start to put themselves out there just a little bit more?
Yeah, I love that question because I get that all the time when I'm speaking about relationship building. Folks will come up to me afterwards saying, you're an extrovert. I can see why this all works. I'm an
Right.
introvert. This is really hard. Well, the good news is some of the very best relationship builders I know are introverts, that you have superpowers as an introvert. You listen more. You're really more engaged when you talk with the other person. If you're going to build great relationships, you need that. So myself as an extrovert, sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I'm trying to think, what am I going to say next? An introvert has a superpower. So regardless of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, these strategies and ideas that we share will work for everybody. And I really think that introverts are starting off ahead, although they may not think that, because
Right.
they're good listeners. And the key to really building relationships is to build that connection.
Mhm.
And how do you do that if you're just
Mm.
talking over people? So I think introverts, when they start applying these things, will find that they're very successful because people naturally are impressed by that person's personality. So I think it's a superpower.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, and also just being really being mindful of actively listening, like when you're interacting with people, for
A
sure.
100%.
Yes. And so, what would be your advice as far as how we actually use this? I mean, I've read it, I love it because it is so easy to understand, like, do one thing a day. But what's your advice as you and Ellen wrote this? How do you see people actually putting this and making it part of their life?
Well, Allison, when you held up the book, people can see it's a thick one.
It
And
is thick, but
what,
don't be scared of it.
no, so what we realize is in today's world, folks have very limited amounts of time to read. Only about 65% of all Americans read a book in any given year. So it's a reach to actually sit down and read something. So what we wanted to do was take advantage of that natural inclination we've all built up of looking at things in sort of a brief format, from looking at things on our phone or on the computer, give people a tangible idea, a strategy for relationship building, and then give them to reflect on or something for them to do that doesn't take a lot of time. You can read a page in about 2 minutes or less. You can
Right.
reflect from 5 to 10 minutes. So it's less than 10 minutes a day, and it will
Mhm.
make an impact. So relationship building is a series of baby steps. It's this incremental process of getting better. It's not waking up one day saying, I'm going to be the super connector. That doesn't work that way. You've got to like break it down into little bite-sized chunks. And that's why we wrote the book in this format.
Right. Well, and I love it too because it gives people a chance to make it a habit. You know, it's this mindfulness of really knowing that connections are going to really have a huge impact on us and being mindful. And it only does take, 10 minutes or less.
Yeah, and they say 66 days to a habit, according to the research I've seen. So yeah, day 66, you're going to, no, whether it's day 66 or, you should start seeing benefits immediately. But, break it down into chunks. If you just read this in one sitting, you just don't have the time to implement
Yeah.
it. And change is caused incrementally over time. It's getting
Mhm.
slightly better, the compound effect. It's many different ways of saying it, but,
Right.
break things into chunks and you're going to get better at it.
Good. I love it. Would you recommend a particular time of day, or what would your advice be as far as when to read it?
That's a great question. I'm a morning person, but
Okay.
my circadian rhythm may not be yours or someone else's. Whenever you have the time to be thoughtful, and some people find that in
Okay.
the evening. So I don't think there's any prescribed time, but it's really setting aside a time, putting it on your calendar. If you want something to
Mhm.
happen, say, hey,
Mm.
relationship building with my
Yep.
morning meditation or reflections before I go to bed. Just build that into your schedule somehow.
Okay, good. And then when and where can people actually get the connector, the daily connector?
Well, we are so excited. This book is coming out in November, mid-November. It's going to be on
Right.
Amazon in
Okay.
print and Kindle format. So that's really super exciting. And we are now also working on an audiobook that is going to have accompanying daily connector journal associated with it.
Ooh.
So if someone is not a reader, they're going to be able to actually listen to the book, and then they're going to have a journal in which they actually can write down their thoughts regarding to a specific question related to that day's entry.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So this is your third book that you're putting out, correct?
Yes, and
Yes.
Ellen and I are so happy. This book would never have happened without my wonderful partner, Ellen. She's a fantastic writer. She's an introvert. I'm an extrovert. So we've combined our minds to give people a book that will work regardless of what type of relationship building style they have.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And so, leaving the people listening to this interview right now, what is one thing, and without even reading your book, that they could start doing today that would really start building better connections because they might be waiting to actually get your book?
There's a lot of specific entries about serving others. So I think the cornerstone activity of being a great relationship builder is just go out there and be a giver. Find
Mm.
ways to add value to others in your life, whether it's your family members, whether it's your work colleagues, the people who you work for. Just go out there and give, 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 and don't worry about the quid pro quo. So
Mhm.
much is going to come back to you. Reciprocity is a real thing. People are going to want to reciprocate. And you know what? It's a lot more fun to live that way when you're not trying to say, okay, what do I get out of this relationship? Just go
Right.
out there and be a giver, and great things are going to happen.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Well, I'm so excited that everyone's going to be able to get it on Amazon soon. And thank you so much for letting me see an early copy because I'm already making different actions in my life based on your book. So thank you.
Allison, thank you so much. Always fun talking with you.
Yes.